let us step quietly now into a world long past. A world where the cold northern air hung still over fjords and forests, where time moved with the rhythms of light and dark, and sleep was not a luxury, but a sacred part of life. In this video, we'll journey deep into the quiet nights of the Viking Age. To understand how, despite hardship and cold, the Norse may have enjoyed some of the best sleep in history. No need to hurry. This is a story best told slowly, like the gentle settling of embers or the fading of twilight on the water. Let us begin. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to subscribe and like the video, but only if you enjoy what I do here. And write in the comments from where you are and what time it is. Now turn off the lights and fan for the soft background hum. And let's get into the night journey together. As the northern sky dimmed into a soft twilight, the world beyond the fjords slowed its pace. The birds quieted, the fields stilled, and within the timbered walls of Viking homes, there came a gentle hush, not from weariness alone, but from something deeper, something sacred, a readiness to rest. In the Viking world, sleep was not treated as an interruption or an inconvenience. It was embraced as a natural part of daily life, a gift offered by the rhythms of the land, the cycle of sun and shadow, the changing seasons. To understand how the Norse people found such restful sleep, we must begin not with the bed or the blankets, but with the stillness of their world, a stillness that came slowly, deliberately, and without resistance. Long before the invention of mechanical clocks or the glare of electric light, the Viking people lived in harmony with the turning of the earth. Light and dark were their guide. In summer, daylight lingered long into the night. But in winter, darkness enveloped the landscape by mid-afternoon. This was not seen as a problem, but as a rhythm to be respected. As the sun disappeared behind snow-covered hills or dipped into the fog of a fjord, people understood it was time to settle in. This settling began with the land itself. Animals were led into their shelters. Tools were cleaned and hung. The last water was fetched from the stream before it froze. Fires were banked gently, not for cooking, now, but for warmth. And the door to the longhouse was shut with care, sealing the night inside. Within that longhouse, life took on a quieter tone. Voices softened, movement slowed. The space, lit only by hearth fire or a flickering oil lamp, became a place of shadows and golden glow. Children's heads rested on their mothers' laps. Elders sat quietly, weaving tales or combing wool. Even the air was calm, still with smoke, scented with pine and tallow, dampened by the moss-lined walls. And with this stillness came something rare in modern life, an absence of distraction. There was no light but firelight, no sound but breath, wind, and the crackling of logs. No glowing screens, no urgent reminders, no late-night emails. Just the gentle presence of family, the rhythm of the flames, and the steady winding down of the body and mind. Sleep, in this world, was not something chased. It was something that arrived, slowly and naturally. And when it came, it was welcomed with open arms. Vikings did not rush towards sleep. They drifted to it. They told stories. They sang softly. They rocked children in carved wooden cradles. They wrapped themselves in cloaks or laid thick pelts over one another like shared warmth. Couples curled together for comfort. The elderly were given special spots near the fire, places of honor, of heat and ease. Outside, the world lay frozen and quiet. A heavy silence blanketed the fields and mountains. Sometimes, wolves howled in the distance, a sound not of fear, but of life continuing, even in the dark. The stars, when visible, stretched endlessly overhead. Northern lights would occasionally dance across the black sky like ancient spirits on the move, watched only by the few wakeful souls tending to embers or whispering quiet prayers to the gods. Sleep came in waves, layered like the moss and wool in their beds. The first sleep was deep and uninterrupted. Then, in the middle of the night, many would wake for a brief hour to tend to the fire, to share thoughts, to lie in quiet reflection. This period, sometimes called the first watch, was accepted, even treasured. It was not a sign of insomnia or illness. It was simply a part of the night. Then came the second sleep, lighter, dreamier, often filled with visions and memory. And when the first faint light of morning touched the smoke hole in the roof, the household stirred again, gently, slowly, and without alarm. There was no rush, no buzz of urgency, just the slow opening of eyes, the stretch of limbs, the rekindling of fire. Life, once more beginning. In this way, the people of the Viking world found a kind of sleep we rarely experience today, deep, connected, undisturbed. Their bodies followed the cues of fire and darkness. Their minds were not tangled in excess. Their nights were not noisy with worry or activity. They simply slept, as the earth does in winter, as a stone rests in a riverbed. And so we begin this journey, a quiet walk into Viking sleep. A walk that will take us deeper into the longhouse, deeper into the habits of rest, the softness of moss and wool, and the stories they whispered as the fire dimmed. So breathe deeply now. Let the noise of the modern world fall away. There is no rush here, only the fading of the day and the stillness that welcomes sleep. The longhouse, stretched like a sleeping beast across the winter earth, was more than shelter. It was a breathing, living world unto itself. Within its timbered walls, a family did more than eat or sleep. They existed together, quietly, through the seasons. It was here, under low beams and between earthen floors, that rest was found, night after night, shaped not by walls and windows, but by warmth, closeness, and rhythm. Let us step quietly inside one now. The wind outside is cold, brushing snow softly across the roof made of turf and thatch. The sky is already dark, though the night is young. You push open a heavy wooden door, worn smooth with use, and step into warmth. The scent meets you first. Smoke and wool, damp moss and dry herbs, the faint musk of animals and ash. It's not unpleasant, just earthy, like the inside of a well-worn coat. The longhouse has no partitions in the modern sense. One large chamber stretches out before you. At its center, running down the spine of the building, is the hearth, a shallow trench lined with stones and filled with slow-burning embers. The flames are low now, just enough to illuminate the faces gathered around it and the shapes hanging from beams overhead. This is the heart of the home, and at night it becomes the heart of a sleeping world. On either side of the hearth are wooden platforms, raised slightly above the floor. By day, they serve as benches or work areas, but at night, these platforms become beds. Covered in straw, dry moss, and layered with furs, these resting places line the sides of the longhouse like alcoves in a quiet chapel. There is no such thing here as personal bedrooms or solitude. The idea of sleeping alone would be not only strange, but dangerous. Heat, in a place like this, is shared, as is breath and quiet and rest. Sleep is communal, woven from the soft murmur of voices, the occasional shifting of limbs, the low breath of animals in the byre. Because yes, animals sleep here too. Often, a small partition separates humans from livestock. Sheep, goats, and even cows are brought indoors during the cold months. Their body heat warms the space. Their presence, familiar, steady, rhythmic, is part of the home. The occasional bleat or snort is not a disruption. It is the sound of life, close and warm. You take a seat near the hearth and look around. A mother is brushing her daughter's hair by firelight. A boy, half asleep, clutches a carved wooden toy. An old man rests with his eyes closed, wrapped in a fur-lined cloak, his hands folded on his chest. No one speaks loudly. There's no need. Everything that needs saying has already been said. Above your head, bundles of herbs hang from the beams, drying slowly in the warmth. A few simple tools, shears, ladles, a comb, rest near the walls. There's no clutter, no polished surfaces, just the smooth dullness of wood worn by hands, and the gentle curves of things made to last. As the night deepens, so does the quiet. Blankets are unfurled, thick wool, hand-woven by someone in this very room. Fur pelts are laid down, heavy and comforting. Children curl beside parents. Elders are given the warmest spots, nearest the hearth. There's no competition, no debate. Everyone knows their place, and it brings a kind of peace. Someone stirs the fire, just enough to coax a little more heat from it. Sparks drift upward toward the smoke hole in the roof. Outside, snow begins to fall. Inside, there is warmth and rhythm and breath. You begin to understand, as you sit among them, why sleep came so easily in a place like this. There are no sharp lights, no ticking clocks, no locked doors, nothing to demand the mind's attention or jolt the body from rest. Only firelight and silence, wool and wood, stories and song. Even the layout of the longhouse invites stillness. The elongated shape slows the eye. The low roof presses you downward, gently. The hearth runs like a spine through the center, offering warmth without glare. And the shared spaces, wide enough for company, narrow enough for intimacy, make you feel part of something enduring, something older than yourself. And perhaps that's the true secret of Viking sleep. Not the furs or the moss or the flickering flames, but the sense of belonging. To a place, to a rhythm, to each other. Here, in the longhouse, you do not sleep alone in a silent room. You sleep among kin, among memories, among dreams that drift like smoke into the beams. So now, imagine yourself there, lying on a bed of dry straw and sweet-smelling moss, wrapped in wool, your feet warmed by a low fire. You listen to the breathing around you, the rustle of fur, the faint bleat of a goat nearby, and then only the sound of the hearth and your own slowing breath. The longhouse, like the world itself, has gone quiet. Sleep has come not with haste, but with ease. It folds itself over the household like a heavy, familiar blanket, and you drift with it. In the quiet Viking longhouse, the hearth was much more than a fire. It was the heart of the home, the steady pulse that held the family together through long nights and colder months. Its glow was gentle but constant, a warm beacon against the cold dark outside. The hearth was the soul of the longhouse, and understanding its place is key to understanding Viking sleep. Imagine stepping inside just as twilight fades. The fading light of day slips away, leaving only the soft amber flicker of the hearth to illuminate the space. Smoke curls upward in lazy spirals through the smoke hole above, not harsh or choking, but soft, mingling with the scent of wood and earth. This fire is more than warmth. It is life itself. Around this hearth, the family moves with quiet purpose. The youngest children sit close to the flames, their faces glowing softly. A mother tends a pot simmering on a tripod, its gentle bubbling a background melody. The father stokes the embers now and then, careful not to let the fire flare or fade too much. The hearth is the source of heat, but also of light, safety, and comfort. Its steady glow soothes the mind, lulls the body. The flickering shadows play gently on the wooden walls and the furs draped over benches, creating a tapestry of shapes that speak to the imagination without startling it. This light is nothing like the harsh brightness we know today. It is slow enough to soften the edges of the day's worries. As night deepens, the fire is banked with ash, a skillful technique that keeps the coals glowing without burning too hot. It simmers quietly through the long hours, a companion to those already surrendered to sleep and to those still awake in quiet reflection. Sometimes a household member will gently stir the embers in the midnight hours, a subtle movement, more a ritual than a task. The hearth's warmth reaches every corner of the longhouse, but never overwhelms. Its presence is gentle and steady, inviting rest rather than stirring restlessness. It is a natural clock, a fire's glow rising and falling with the night, that guides the body's rhythm towards sleep. Around the hearth, the air holds stories. The old tales of gods and heroes, whispered softly by elders. The lullabies sung to soothe restless children. The prayers murmured for protection through the dark hours. This was a place where the veil between waking and dreaming seemed thin, where the flicker of flame and the shadows it cast blurred the line between the physical world and the realm of spirits. Families often gathered here after their evening meal, the smell of roasted meat and freshly baked bread still lingering. This was the time to wind down, to speak quietly, to prepare the mind and body for rest. The flickering firelight seemed to hush the louder thoughts of the day. inviting a gentleness to seep in. The hearth was also practical. It dried clothes and furs. It cooked the last meal of the day. It boiled water for washing. But perhaps its greatest gift was the comfort it gave, a steady presence in a world ruled by cold and shadow. Imagine lying near this fire on a platform piled high with moss and woven wool. The warmth seeps through your blankets, easing tense muscles. You watch the soft dance of light and shadow, feel the slow breathing of those around you, and listen to the quiet crackling of embers. There is no rush to close your eyes, no need to fight the coming sleep. You let it come, slowly, with the rhythm of the fire. Outside, the night is silent except for the occasional rustle of animals or the distant howl of wolves. Inside, the longhouse breathes softly, a living, warm refuge. The hearth's presence lulls you into a place where worries melt, where the day's burdens become whispers, where the boundary between wakefulness and sleep softens. This is the heart of Viking rest, where warmth, light, and community come together to invite the slow drift into dreams. And as you surrender to this gentle world, the fire burns low, carrying the longhouse and its people safely through the night. In the quiet comfort of the Viking longhouse, the bed was more than just a place to lie down. It was a carefully crafted refuge, a soft, warm nest shaped by the natural world. The Vikings slept not on mattresses like ours today, but on simple yet effective layers of materials found in the forests, fields, and streams around them. Their beds were a living connection to the earth beneath their feet. Picture yourself preparing to rest after a long day. You walk to your sleeping place, a wooden platform raised just above the earthen floor, supported by stout logs hewn from nearby trees. This platform serves as the frame of your bed, sturdy and low, close to the warmth rising from the hearth. It is not luxurious, but it is well made and designed for comfort. Upon this wooden frame, the first layer is spread, a thick bed of dry straw or hay. Carefully harvested from fields during the warmer months, this straw is chosen for its dryness and softness. It cushions the body from the hardwood beneath, insulating against the chill that might seep from the ground. If moss is at hand, soft, spongy, and fragrant, it is layered over the straw, adding further padding and an earthy scent that calms the mind. The moss is especially prized for its natural absorbency and pleasant smell. Gathered from forest floors and boggy areas, it is cleaned and dried before being used. Its gentle softness is a contrast to the rough textures of wood and straw. Over time, these layers are replaced and refreshed. Bedding is not left to become damp or uncomfortable. Over the straw and moss come the furs. Pelts from animals hunted or raised nearby, sheep, goats, reindeer, even bears, are carefully prepared and sewn into blankets and bed coverings. The fur side is often turned inward to provide warmth against the skin, while the outer wool or hide shields against drafts. These pelts are thick and dense, trapping the heat of the sleeper and keeping cold fingers of night at bay. In wealthier households, a feather bed might be added, a rare luxury, stuffed with down plucked from wild birds. Such beds were prized for their softness and warmth, but were not common. For most, the natural materials around them sufficed. The blankets, too, were made at home. Wool was spun and woven by hand, dyed with natural pigments from plants and minerals. These blankets were heavy and warm, layered in folds to suit the chill of the season. Many would keep their blankets tightly rolled during the day, unfurling them only when night fell and the fire was banked low. The care put into bedding was not trivial. Cleanliness mattered, straw was changed regularly, moss refreshed, furs aired in the sun to prevent dampness and pests. Herbs such as juniper, thyme, or sweet gale might be tucked into bedding to add fragrance and repel insects. The scent of these herbs mingled with smoke and wool, creating an olfactory tapestry of home. The bed was a place of ritual as well as rest. Families would gather to prepare their sleeping places each evening, laying out the layers, smoothing furs, arranging pillows made from woven cloth stuffed with feathers or moss. These moments were quiet, deliberate, a transition from the bustle of daytime to the calm of night. Sleep itself was a shared experience. Parents and children often slept close together, wrapped in layers of furs and wool. There was little sense of privacy as we know it. Instead, warmth and security came from proximity. Newborns might rest near their mothers, while older children shared benches or platforms with siblings. Elders were honored with the softest, warmest bedding near the hearth. The Viking bed was a tactile place, filled with textures that soothed the senses. The softness of moss, the roughness of straw, the weight of heavy wool, the gentle prickliness of fur, all combined to ease the body into rest. The natural materials connected sleepers to the earth, grounding them as the longhouse breathed around them. Imagine yourself now lying in such a bed. The coolness of the wooden platform beneath the layers is softened by the straw's gentle give. The scent of pine and herbs fills the air. A wool blanket is pulled snug over your shoulders, and a thick fur pelt covers your legs and feet. The fire crackles in the hearth, casting warm light that dances across the ceiling beams. Outside, the wind howls, but here you are sheltered, held by the earth itself. This simplicity is profound. There are no synthetic fibers, no foam mattresses, no electric heaters. Instead, there is a deep knowledge of the land, a reverence for natural materials, and a careful tending to comfort. This was sleep born of place, rooted in earth and sky, fire and water. And perhaps this connection to nature helped the Vikings to sleep so deeply, to wake rested, grounded, and ready to meet the long northern day, to carry the quiet strength of the forest and field into their dreams. As the night stretches onward, your body sinks deeper into the bed you have imagined, a bed made not of luxury, but of love and care, a bed built from the land itself. In the cool, northern climes where the Vikings lived, warmth was a precious gift, especially when the long, dark winters stretched on for months. Among the many gifts the land provided, none was more vital to restful sleep than wool, spun and woven by patient hands into blankets and coverings that softened the longhouse nights. To understand the Vikings' remarkable ability to sleep warmly and well, we must first turn to the art of wool and weaving, a craft as old as their settlements, quietly tended by the women and sometimes men of the household. It was an art born from necessity, but shaped by skill and care. Picture a hearthside where the rhythmic turn of a spindle hums like a lullaby. A woman, her fingers nimble and sure, draws soft locks of sheep's wool from a basket, teasing them into long strands. The wool is raw, wild, and full of oils that will one day help keep out the chill. As the spindle spins, the wool twists into thread, fine, strong, and flexible. Spinning was a daily task, a slow and meditative ritual. The wool was dyed with natural pigments from plants like woad and madder, creating soft blues, earthy reds, and muted greens. These colors blended with the subdued northern palette, calming rather than startling the senses. Once spun, the thread was woven on a loom, often a simple warp-weighted type. The process was methodical and gentle, each pass of the shuttle weaving threads together like the stitches of a quiet prayer. The result was woolen fabric, dense, warm, and soft enough to comfort even the weariest body. Blankets made from this woven wool were the crown jewels of Viking bedding. They were thick and heavy, layered to trap the body's heat against the cold night air. In winter, several layers might be folded over one another, a patchwork of texture and color that smelled faintly of the fields and forest where the sheep grazed. Weaving blankets was not merely functional. It was a form of care and protection. The hands that spun and wove these fibers imbued the fabric with an unspoken love, weaving warmth not just for the body but for the spirit. On cold nights, a blanket was drawn tightly around shoulders, cocooning the sleeper in its embrace. The fabric muffled the sounds of the longhouse, softening the crackle of fire and the rustling of furs. It was a barrier against the cold, yes, but also a gentle shield for the mind, a tactile calm that invited rest. The texture of wool is unique. It breathes, allowing moisture to escape without chilling the skin. Its crimped fibers trap air, creating natural insulation. These properties made wool blankets invaluable in a world without modern heating. And yet, their warmth was never stifling. Wrapped in wool, a Viking could find a balance, sheltered from the harsh outside, but still connected to the rhythms of the longhouse night. Blankets were also practical in their design. Edges were often finished with hand-stitched hems to prevent unraveling. Patterns might be simple, geometric, or occasionally woven with decorative stripes. These patterns, passed down through generations, carried quiet stories, symbols of family, place, or protection. Beyond the beds, wool blankets served many roles. They were used as seating during the day, as coverings for animals, and as wraps when traveling. The adaptability of wool made it a cornerstone of Viking life. Imagine, now, pulling a thick wool blanket over yourself as the fire's glow dims low. You feel the soft weight settle on your chest and legs, the gentle pressure comforting and steadying. The fabric smells faintly of lanolin and pine, a fragrance that soothes the mind and invites sleep. Beneath your fingertips, the woven threads offer subtle texture, a tactile reminder of the hands that crafted them. Each thread is a connection, stretching from you back through time and place, linking you to a long line of weavers who spun warmth into the dark. This ritual of wool and weaving is more than just craft. It is a lullaby in fiber, a quiet song of comfort sung in every night's embrace. And it is here, in these soft folds of wool, that the Viking sleeper found sanctuary, a place where cold nights held no fear, where the body could yield, and where dreams could drift gently on the edges of firelight. So, as you imagine yourself resting beneath such a blanket, feel the slow breath of the longhouse around you, the soft murmur of voices, the crackling fire, the steady warmth woven from sheep's wool and the patient hands of the past. Let this be your invitation to rest deeply, wrapped in the quiet comfort of the north. The Viking longhouse was a shared sanctuary. Inside its thick walls, people lived closely, their lives intertwined not only in daily tasks, but also in sleep. There were no private bedrooms as we know them, no locked doors for solitude. Instead, sleep was a communal affair, shaped by family bonds, social roles, and the rhythms of daily life. To understand Viking sleep, we must gently explore who slept where, the patterns and hierarchies that organized rest within the longhouse. Imagine a longhouse glowing softly by firelight. Its rectangular shape stretches out before you, with benches lining the walls, covered in straw, moss, and warm furs. This is not merely a place to sleep. It is a space of connection and care. At one end of the longhouse, often the warmest spot near the hearth, the elders or heads of the household took their place. These seats were given honor, not only for their proximity to the fire, but for their status. Here, a father and mother might rest side by side, wrapped in thick blankets. Their sleep was sometimes interrupted by the duties of the household or tending to the fire, but they were also the anchors of the sleeping group. Close by, the children slept together, often in groups, sharing the same raised platforms or even the floor. Younger children, still small and vulnerable, would nestle near their mother's side, protected by the warmth and scent of their family. Older children might cluster together, their quiet breathing a rhythmic chorus in the night. Privacy as we understand it was scarce. Yet, this absence of solitude did not cause discomfort. On the contrary, there was safety in proximity. In a harsh and unpredictable environment, closeness meant warmth and protection. The body heat of family members mingled. The gentle rise and fall of breathing calmed restless hearts. Occasionally, curtains woven from coarse wool or linen might be hung between sleeping areas. These simple barriers offered a faint sense of separation, a small shield from stray light or noise, but nothing that isolated. These curtains fluttered softly in the warm air, as permeable as the bonds between kin. Who slept where was also influenced by gender and social roles. Men and women usually slept apart, though always within sight or sound of one another. Women often tended to household tasks late into the evening or early morning and might rise while others still slept. Men, too, might keep watch or engage in crafts by firelight during the night. In some homes, extended family or guests might be present. They would find places along the benches or in small niches carved into the longhouse walls. Sleep, in this way, was flexible, adapting to the needs and numbers of the household. Animals also found their place in the longhouse at night. While their spaces were often partitioned, the faint sounds of breathing or shifting hooves blended into the background of human sleep. Their warmth was a gift, supplementing the hearth's heat in the coldest months. This close sleeping arrangement encouraged a deep attunement among family members. The slightest shift, the softest sigh, the quietest cough could be felt. It was a world where senses were heightened, yet also soothed by shared presence. The rhythms of Viking sleep included what modern sleep science calls biphasic sleep. A first, deep sleep followed by a waking period, then a second sleep. During the waking hour, family members might talk quietly, tend the fire, or attend to small tasks. This interlude was a natural pause, woven into the night's fabric, not a cause for anxiety or restlessness. Imagine yourself lying here in the longhouse, surrounded by the warmth of family and fire. The gentle breaths of those you love rise and fall in harmony with your own. You sense their presence as a soft embrace, a shield against the chill and dark. There is no loneliness here, only belonging. No isolation, only community. This shared sleep nurtured not only the body but the spirit. It was a nightly ritual of connection, protection, and trust. In a world where the cold and wild were never far away, this closeness was a quiet victory, a sanctuary built of breath and warmth. As you settle beneath the woolen blankets, with furs piled around your shoulders, feel the slow beating of life around you. The longhouse holds you gently, as it has held countless generations before. And with this knowledge, the invitation to rest becomes even deeper. You are part of this enduring story, a story of closeness, care, and the soft art of sleeping together. In the Viking world, sleep was governed not by clocks or schedules, but by the natural rhythms of light and dark, the steady turning of the seasons, the rising and setting of the sun, and the slow changes in the sky. To understand how Vikings found their best sleep, we must gently explore this rhythm, which shaped every hour of their days and nights. Imagine standing outside as the year turns. The earth breathes in cycles. Deep winter's long nights stretch endlessly, while summer's sun lingers well past bedtime, painting the sky in soft pinks and pale blues. The world itself seems to move in slow waves of light and shadow, and the people who lived here moved with it. During the long winter months, darkness enveloped the land early in the afternoon. The sun, low and weak, disappeared quickly behind frosted hills or icy fjords. These months were a time for rest and restoration. Days were short, cold, and often harsh. Fires burned bright and constant in every home. This long night was not feared, but embraced. The darkness invited long, deep sleep. Families gathered close around the hearth, wrapped in furs and wool. The air inside the longhouse grew still, save for the steady breathing of sleepers and the occasional crackle of the fire. In these months, Vikings often took what modern science calls segmented sleep, a first, deep sleep followed by a waking period in the night, then a second sleep until dawn. This waking hour was gentle, a time for quiet thought, tending fires, or whispering stories. Imagine yourself lying in a bed of moss and straw, the cold wind howling outside. Your blankets are thick and warm, your breath slow and even. You drift through this rhythm of sleep and waking, carried by the pulse of the long winter night. Then, as spring approaches, the balance begins to shift. The days lengthen, and the sun returns with growing strength. The snow melts from the fields, and the air grows warmer. Birds sing again. The world brightens. As darkness settled over the Viking longhouse and the fire's glow softened to embers, a gentle ritual unfolded. Nighttime was not merely a passage into sleep, but a time for quiet reflection, connection, and storytelling, rituals that cradled the mind and spirit before rest. Imagine yourself sitting near the hearth, wrapped in soft furs and woolen blankets. Around you, the flickering firelight casts dancing shadows on rough wooden walls. The sounds of the outside world fade, replaced by the low murmur of voices and the crackle of burning wood. Before sleep fully takes hold, the family gathers close. The elders' voices soften as they share old tales, stories passed down through generations, stories of gods, heroes, the sea, and the earth. These are not tales of action and excitement, but gentle narratives woven with reverence and warmth. They speak of the land's mysteries, the changing seasons, and the quiet courage of everyday life. Each story unfolds slowly, like smoke rising from the hearth, curling, fading, and drifting. The rhythm of speech is soft, measured, with pauses that invite reflection. The listeners, wrapped in blankets, close their eyes or gaze into the fire, letting the words settle deep within. These stories serve many purposes. They connect the family to their ancestors and to the world around them. They calm restless minds, providing familiar comfort. They teach lessons not through urgency, but through shared memory and gentle guidance. Sometimes lullabies are sung to the youngest, their melodies simple and soothing, notes rising and falling like the waves of a quiet sea. These songs cradle children into sleep, their voices blending with the crackle of fire and the whisper of the wind outside. Nighttime rituals also include small acts of care. A parent might check a child's blanket, smoothing furs or adjusting woolens to keep the chill away. A quiet prayer may be whispered to the gods for protection through the night, a blessing given not with fear but with peaceful hope. The fire itself is tended carefully. Sparks are coaxed to settle, embers stirred gently to keep warmth steady but not overwhelming. This act is done with reverence, a reminder of the fire's central role in the household's life and rest. As you imagine this scene, feel the weight of the shared stories and quiet acts. Sense how they weave a protective web, a soft cocoon that guards sleep. The steady rhythm of voices, the warmth of furs, the flicker of flames, all combine to invite the body and mind to surrender slowly to rest. There is no hurry here. No need to force sleep or chase dreams. Instead, night is an unfolding journey, a slow descent into peace, held gently by tradition and love. Outside, the long northern night stretches wide and still. Inside, the longhouse breathes softly, alive with the pulse of family and fire. The old stories settle like a balm, their echoes wrapping around you as your eyes grow heavy. In this quiet space, sleep is a friend. It comes not as a sudden drop into darkness, but as a gentle folding into a safe embrace. The rituals of the night, stories told, blankets adjusted, prayers whispered, prepare the way for this rest. And as you drift deeper into sleep, carried on the wings of soft voices and the warmth of home, know that you are part of a timeless tradition. A tradition that honors rest as a sacred gift and welcomes sleep with open arms. In the stillness of the Viking night, sound took on a new quality. It was not noise to be feared or chased away, but a gentle companion, a natural backdrop that soothed the mind and invited rest. To understand the Vikings' peaceful sleep, we must listen closely to these sounds and discover their quiet power. Imagine yourself lying in the longhouse, nestled among furs and woolen blankets. The fire has burned low, casting faint, flickering light. The world outside is cloaked in darkness and silence, but inside, a subtle symphony begins. There is the soft breathing of those around you, slow, steady, rhythmic. Each inhale and exhale forms a gentle wave, a shared pulse connecting sleepers. The faint rustle of shifting bodies, the creak of wooden beams settling with the cool night air, the occasional sigh or murmur, all these sounds weave together into a quiet melody. Outside the longhouse, nature's chorus continues softly. You might hear the distant call of an owl, its voice carrying across the frozen fields. The whisper of wind through pine branches creates a delicate rustling, like a lullaby sung by the forest itself. Occasionally, a wolf's howl rises, a haunting but familiar sound, a reminder of the wild world beyond the shelter. None of these sounds startle or disrupt. Instead, they form a natural soundtrack, a reminder that life continues gently, even in darkness. The Vikings were deeply attuned to this auditory landscape. They knew which sounds meant safety, which meant change, and which were simply part of the night's calm. Inside, the crackle and pop of embers in the hearth provide a steady rhythm. The fire's warmth radiates outward, and its sounds become a steady heartbeat beneath all others. This subtle percussion, combined with breathing and nature's calls, creates a lullaby of its own, a soundscape that eases the transition from wakefulness to sleep. Imagine closing your eyes and focusing on this layered quiet. Each sound blends into the next, creating a cocoon of calm. The fire's crackling, the family's breath, the forest's whispers, all invite your mind to let go of day's worries and drift deeper into rest. The Vikings understood that complete silence was rare and even unsettling. Instead, they welcomed the gentle noises of night as a source of comfort. These familiar sounds created a sense of presence and protection. They reminded sleepers that they were not alone, that the world was alive, moving with them, breathing with them. In this way, sound became part of the ritual of sleep. It helped mark the boundaries of the day and night, signaling when to wind down and when to wake. It grounded the Viking sleeper in the natural world, connecting body and mind to the earth's steady rhythms. As you lie now, imagine yourself wrapped in this soundscape. Let the fire's whispering embers lull you. Let the soft breathing around you comfort you. Let the distant owl and rustling trees remind you that all is as it should be. There is no rush here, no abrupt silence or jarring noise. Only the steady, gentle presence of night's own music, a timeless melody that cradles you towards sleep. In the gentle fold of the Viking night, waking once or twice was not unusual. It was part of a natural rhythm, a quiet interlude between two phases of sleep. These quiet hours held their own kind of peace, a time for soft reflection, gentle tasks, and calm companionship. Imagine yourself stirred from sleep by the soft shift of a blanket or a familiar sound. The fire is low now, just glowing embers nestled in the hearth. Outside, the world is deep in darkness. Inside, the longhouse breathes quietly, alive with the faint murmur of other sleepers. During these waking hours, the Vikings moved slowly, carefully, so as not to disturb the rest of the household. Some might tend the fire, coaxing embers to life to bring a bit more warmth. Others might take quiet moments to pray, whispering soft words to the gods for protection or gratitude. Still others might simply sit, wrapped in blankets, gazing into the firelight, letting their thoughts wander gently. This waking period was not a source of frustration or restlessness. Instead, it was a pause, a breath between sleeps, a space to be present with the quiet night. It was a time when minds could drift slowly, unhurried, weaving through memories and dreams. Families often remained close during these hours. Conversations were hushed, words soft and deliberate. Stories might be shared once more, simpler, quieter versions of the tales told earlier, or lullabies softly hummed to soothe restless children. There was no urgency, no need to force oneself back to sleep. The Vikings understood that sleep came in phases, and that waking was a gentle part of the process. The body and mind moved with the natural flow of night, rather than against it. Imagine the warmth of your blankets and furs as you sit quietly by the fading fire. The air is cool, but not cold. The fire's glow dances softly on wooden beams. Outside, the stars are bright, scattered across the vast northern sky. In this stillness, you feel the slow passage of time, a rhythm older than clocks or calendars. You are connected to the long line of sleepers who have come before, who have risen quietly in the night and returned to rest with ease. This peaceful waking hour allowed the Vikings to tend both practical needs and spiritual ones. It was a time to listen, to the body, to the hearth, to the night itself. As you settle again beneath your blankets, feel the steady embrace of rest return. Let your breathing slow and deepen. Let the quiet of the night fold around you once more. Sleep comes back gently, like a soft tide washing over the shore. The longhouse grows still. The fire dims to glowing coals, and you drift, slowly, softly, into dreams. In the quiet depths of the Viking night, dreams held a special place, not only as restful passages, but as meaningful journeys. The Vikings believed that dreams were more than fleeting images. They were threads connecting the sleeper to the unseen world, to ancestors, and to the gods. Imagine yourself drifting into sleep within the warmth of a longhouse. Your body sinks softly into the layers of moss and wool, the firelight dimming to a tender glow. As your eyes close, your mind begins to wander, slipping gently into the realm of dreams. For the Vikings, dreams were a space of reflection and guidance. They believed that through dreams, the gods might send messages, ancestors could appear, or the spirit might travel beyond the waking world. Dreams were sacred, approached with respect and openness. In the stillness of night, a dream might arrive quietly, a vision of a loved one, a symbol from nature, a whisper of a future event. These dreams were often shared at dawn, discussed softly among family or community members. The meaning of a dream was interpreted not with haste, but through calm reflection. The long northern nights, with their segmented sleep, allowed ample time for dreams to unfold. The waking hour between sleeps was sometimes used to recall and speak of these dreams, a gentle ritual that honored the messages they carried. Some dreams brought comfort, reinforcing bonds of love and belonging. Others offered warnings, subtle and enigmatic, guiding choices in waking life. In all cases, dreams were woven into the fabric of daily existence, not dismissed as mere fantasy. Imagine the flickering firelight as you share your dream in the morning, words slow and soft, voices low. The hearth listens, as does the family, receiving these nightly tales with patience and care. In this way, dreams became another form of storytelling, a bridge between the seen and unseen, the known and mysterious. The quiet reverence for dreams supported the Vikings' ability to sleep deeply and restfully. When the mind knows that the night holds both rest and meaning, it surrenders with less resistance. As you lie now, wrapped in the gentle embrace of the longhouse night, allow your thoughts to drift freely. Let dreams come softly, without urgency or fear. Know that whatever visions visit you, they are part of a larger journey, a peaceful voyage beneath the stars. Sleep is not an ending, but a continuation, a slow unfolding of stories told in the silence of night. In the Viking world, the weather was a constant companion, shaping daily life, work, and even sleep. The longhouse stood as a shelter against wind, rain, snow, and cold, but the ever-changing climate quietly influenced how and when the Vikings rested. To understand their sleep fully, we must listen to the subtle conversations between weather and rest. Imagine the vast northern landscapes, wide skies that shift from bright sunlight to heavy clouds, fierce storms, or calm, clear nights. The Vikings did not just endure the weather, they lived closely with it, attuned to its rhythms and moods. On calm, clear nights, the longhouse felt peaceful and steady. The fire's warmth was enough to keep the chill at bay, and the quiet crackling of embers mingled with soft breathing and the faint rustling of wool blankets. These nights invited gentle, uninterrupted sleep. The stars shone bright above, and the air was crisp but not biting. But when the weather turned fierce, when storms raged with howling winds, pelting rain, or swirling snow, sleep took on a different character. The longhouse walls creaked under the gusts, and the fire roared to keep pace with the cold outside. Inside, the air thickened with the scent of smoke and damp wool. Sleep was deeper then, a protective cocoon against the wild world beyond. Imagine the sensation of lying on your layered bed, thick blankets pulled close, furs wrapped snugly around your shoulders as the wind moans through the cracks in the wooden walls. The rhythm of the storm outside becomes a lullaby of its own, steady and relentless, helping to ease the mind into rest. Sometimes, heavy rains might cause the earth around the longhouse to soften and the air to fill with the scent of wetwood and earth. These moist nights brought a unique stillness indoors, as if the world were holding its breath. The Vikings welcomed this quiet, letting the soft sounds of rain drum a gentle cadence for sleep. Cold snaps, with frosty air slipping in through any opening, made the hearth the focal point of warmth and comfort. The fire was tended carefully, its heat radiating in waves that chased the chill from bones and blankets alike. On such nights, Viking sleep was a deep surrender, body and spirit drawn into the hearth's glow, safe and steady against the cold. There was also the shifting light of weather to consider. Overcast skies dimmed the natural light even in daytime, encouraging longer rest and slower movements. Bright sun and clear skies, by contrast, lengthened waking hours and encouraged more activity, subtly reshaping the cycles of sleep and wakefulness. The Vikings' intimate knowledge of their climate meant they prepared well. They layered bedding thicker during stormy seasons, kept their fires carefully managed, and chose sleeping positions and locations within the longhouse to maximize comfort against drafts or damp. Imagine now the sensory world of a Viking night shaped by weather, the smell of wet pine after rain, the sharp bite of frost through a crack, the murmur of wind bending trees just beyond the walls. These elements were not threats, but rhythms to be understood and respected. This acceptance of nature's moods helped the Vikings find rest amid change. They did not fight the weather, but embraced it as part of life's flow, allowing their bodies and minds to move with its gentle and fierce shifts. As you settle into your imagined Viking bed tonight, picture the weather's song outside, the soft patter of rain, the whisper of snow, the sighing wind. Let these natural sounds and sensations lull you into a deep, restful sleep, held safe within the longhouse's sturdy walls. The Viking day began not with alarms or sudden sounds, but with a gentle awakening, woven softly into the rhythms of light and warmth. After nights spent wrapped in layers of furs and blankets, surrounded by the slow breathing of family and the dying embers of the hearth, waking was a quiet ceremony, a gradual return from sleep to the waking world. Imagine the first pale hints of dawn filtering through the smoke hole above the hearth. The sky outside shifts from deep indigo to soft lavender, then to the pale blue of early morning. This light moves slowly, bathing the longhouse in a muted glow. Inside, the air is still cool but carries the promise of warmth. The fire, tended throughout the night, glows softly in the hearth, casting gentle shadows along the wooden beams and worn wooden walls. This firelight is the first signal of a new day, a slow pulse that stirs the household. Waking is not rushed. Instead, it is a gradual unfolding. Eyes open slowly, adjusting to the dim light and the soft sounds of morning. Breathing deepens, muscles stretch beneath heavy blankets. The warmth of the fire and the close presence of loved ones provide a comforting cocoon from which to emerge. Often, the first movements are small and deliberate. A hand reaches out to adjust a blanket or stoke the fire with a small stick. A soft murmur might pass between sleepers, a gentle greeting or a shared word of thanks for another night of rest. Children awaken next, their eyes brightening with the new light. They rise carefully from the furs, eager for the day, but still wrapped in the peacefulness of the longhouse. The scent of wood smoke and drying herbs mingles with the fresh morning air. Breakfast preparations begin quietly. The warmth of the hearth becomes a gathering point, where food is heated, water boiled, and meals shared. These first moments are calm and unhurried, a contrast to the busier hours to come. The rhythms of waking follow the patterns of nature. The sun's climb signals time to rise, but only gently, allowing body and mind to ease from sleep. There is no abruptness, no harsh alarms. Instead, the longhouse wakes as a living being slowly, softly, in harmony with the earth. Imagine yourself here, feeling the slow pull from rest to wakefulness. The blankets are warm around you, the fires glow steady and soothing. You breathe in the scents of the hearth and the woods, listening to the quiet stirrings of the household. This art of waking slow, respectful, and natural prepares the mind for the day ahead. It fosters patience, presence, and gratitude for rest received. And as the light grows stronger and the fire's warmth spreads through the longhouse, you rise with ease, carrying the calm of the night into the bright hours of the day. In the Viking world, What one ate during the day gently influenced how well one slept at night. The rhythms of their meals, the nature of their food, and the timing of feasts and simple suppers all played a quiet role in fostering restful slumber. To understand Viking sleep fully, we explore the delicate relationship between diet and the calming journey into rest. Imagine a longhouse kitchen filled with the soft crackling of a fire, the earthy aromas of simmering stews, fresh herbs, and baked bread. The ingredients are simple and nourishing grains, vegetables, preserved fish, and hearty meats. These foods are grown, caught, or gathered close to home, deeply connected to the land and sea. During the day, Vikings ate modest meals spaced in harmony with their work and the light. Breakfast might be coarse porridge, warmed with fresh milk or honey, providing steady energy without heaviness. Midday meals often included bread, cheese, and preserved meats, simple, sustaining fare that fueled the body's rhythm. Evening meals were important for sleep. Often taken before dusk, these suppers were filling but not overly rich. Stews thick with barley and root vegetables, salted fish, or roasted game provided warmth and comfort. The flavors were mild, allowing digestion to progress gently. Spices and herbs were used thoughtfully. Juniper berries, dill, and wild garlic added subtle notes but also digestive benefits. These natural flavors were soothing rather than stimulating, a quiet celebration of the earth's gifts. Avoidance of heavy or overly rich foods before bedtime helped the Vikings maintain calm, uninterrupted sleep. Unlike modern practices that sometimes invite late-night indulgence, the Vikings respected the body's need to rest, letting the day's work wind down in tandem with the setting sun. Fermented foods and drinks, such as ale and mead, were part of their diet but consumed in moderation. These beverages, mild and earthy, were often shared in communal settings earlier in the evening. Their calming warmth aided relaxation but were rarely part of the immediate pre-sleep routine. Imagine yourself sitting by the fire after a modest supper, the taste of roasted barley and dried fish lingering gently on your tongue. The warmth of the meal spreads slowly through your body, a steady flame beneath the cool evening air. As digestion settles, the body signals readiness for rest. The gentle heaviness that follows a balanced meal encourages slow breathing and the soft pull of sleep. This mindful approach to eating, attuned to natural rhythms and body needs, nurtured the Vikings' ability to rest deeply. Their food was medicine and comfort, part of a slow dance between the land, the body, and the night. As you imagine yourself in this setting, let the quiet nourishment of simple, wholesome food prepare you for your own restful night. Let the rhythms of eating and resting flow naturally, as they did in the longhouse. With each breath, feel yourself sinking more deeply into calm, carried by the steady pulse of earth, fire, and the slow unfolding of sleep. In the heart of every Viking longhouse burned the hearth, a glowing, vital presence that shaped life and sleep alike. The hearth was more than a source of warmth or a place for cooking. It was the center of comfort, safety, and rest, gently cradling the household through the long, dark nights. Imagine stepping into a longhouse as dusk falls. The air is cool and still, but your eyes are drawn immediately to the hearth, a broad, open fire pit at the center of the room. Flames flicker softly, casting dancing shadows across wooden walls and low benches piled with furs and blankets. The hearth's warmth radiates slowly, a comforting pulse that fills the space. It is the heart of the home, beating steady and strong. As night deepens, the fire is carefully tended. Logs are added with quiet care, embers stirred gently to keep the heat steady but never overwhelming. This tending is a ritual, a slow, deliberate act that honors the fire's life-giving presence. The hearth's warmth reaches every corner, melting the chill from wooden floors and stone walls. Its glow creates a sanctuary, a cocoon of light and heat that encourages calm and rest. Imagine yourself resting near the hearth, wrapped in woolen blankets. The heat seeps into your bones, loosening tension and inviting your muscles to relax. The gentle crackling of the fire is a soft soundtrack to your slow, even breathing. Beyond physical warmth, the hearth offered a sense of safety. Its flames were a barrier against the cold and darkness outside, a living shield against the wildness beyond the longhouse walls. This sense of protection soothed the mind, allowing sleep to come easily and deeply. Families gathered close to the hearth before sleep, sharing quiet words, stories, or prayers. The firelight flickered softly on faces, creating a sense of connection and belonging. The hearth was a silent witness to generations of rest and dreams. The fire's light also shaped the quality of the night. It provided just enough illumination to calm fears without disturbing the eyes or brain. This subtle balance fostered a peaceful transition from wakefulness to sleep. Imagine the interplay of shadows and warmth, the fire's glow slowly dimming as embers cool, encouraging your body to yield to rest. The slow dying of the hearth's light mirrors the soft closing of your eyes. Even as the fire fades to glowing coals, its warmth lingers, a gentle pulse beneath the blankets, carrying you into dreams. The hearth, then, was a guardian of sleep, a steady companion in the long Viking nights. Its presence shaped the atmosphere of rest, inviting calm, safety, and deep comfort. As you lie now, wrapped in imagined warmth, feel the hearth's embrace. Let its steady glow fill your mind with peace. Let its gentle heat carry you softly into sleep. The comfort of Viking sleep was woven not only from wool blankets and the warmth of the hearth, but also from the humble, natural materials that formed their beds. Straw, moss, and animal hides created layers of softness and insulation, simple gifts from the earth that cradled the sleeper through cold northern nights. Imagine entering a longhouse bedroom, or rather, the sleeping area within the shared space of the home. Raised wooden platforms run along the walls, covered with thick layers of straw carefully harvested and dried. This straw is the first cushion, a firm, natural mattress that provides support. The scent of dry grass mingles with wood smoke in the air, evoking fields that stretch beyond the village. Straw is coarse to the touch but offers gentle springiness, a bed that breathes and shifts with the body's movements. Above the straw, the Vikings laid thick mats of moss. Moss was gathered from shaded forests, dried slowly to preserve its softness. Its dense, spongy texture provided warmth and cushioning, insulating against the cold stone or wooden floor below. Moss is naturally moisture-absorbing and offered a clean, fresh surface. Its muted green hues blended quietly with the earthy tones of the longhouse, enhancing the calming atmosphere. Imagine pressing your hand into a bed layered with straw and moss, feeling the gentle give beneath your fingers, the softness cushioned by the natural materials. This was a bed made by nature, alive with subtle textures and warmth. Animal hides and furs were then spread atop these layers, providing an additional shield against cold and drafts. The pelts of reindeer, sheep, or bear were prized for their thick, insulating qualities. Their softness and warmth embraced the sleeper, muffling the chill that might seep through walls or floors. These furs were not only practical, they carried the spirit of the animals, a quiet connection to the wild and to survival. Their presence in the bed was a comfort, a protective layer that wrapped around the body like a familiar friend. Beds were arranged carefully to catch the warmth from the hearth, positioned on raised platforms or benches to keep sleepers off damp floors. The layering of straw, moss, and furs created a sanctuary of softness and warmth, a tactile comfort that invited deep, restful sleep. The process of preparing these beds was a ritual in itself. Gathering and drying straw and moss required patience and care, as did the tanning and preparation of hides. Each step was a meditation, a slow, deliberate preparation for the sacred act of rest. Imagine settling into such a bed after a long day, the softness yielding beneath you, the warmth rising from layered natural materials. You feel supported, sheltered, and cradled by the earth itself. In these quiet layers, Vikings found their best sleep, a sleep rooted in the textures and rhythms of their environment, a sleep that nourished both body and spirit. As you imagine lying in this gentle bed, let the softness and warmth soothe you. Feel the natural materials beneath your skin, the slow breath of the longhouse surrounding you. Let this be your invitation to rest deeply, cradled by the earth's quiet gifts, wrapped in the slow, steady comfort of nature. In the cool, often unpredictable climate of the Viking world, clothing was more than mere decoration. It was a vital part of comfort and rest. The way Vikings dressed for sleep, layering soft, warm fabrics, helped cradle the body in gentle warmth, supporting deep and peaceful slumber. Imagine the quiet of the longhouse evening as the household begins to settle. Clothes worn during the day, woolen tunics, linen shirts, and sturdy trousers are carefully removed, replaced with nightwear designed for warmth and softness. Unlike modern pajamas, Viking nightwear was simple and practical. Underlayers of linen, soft and breathable, cushioned the skin. Linen was prized for its natural fibers, which kept the body comfortable by allowing air to flow while providing gentle insulation. Over these undergarments, woolen layers were added. Wool, thick and insulating even when damp, was essential for keeping out chill air. Softly woven woolen shifts or cloaks might be draped loosely over the body, their coarse yet comforting texture providing a natural barrier against cold. Imagine the feel of these fabrics, the smoothness of linen sliding gently over the skin, the warmth of wool folding around shoulders and limbs. These layers moved with the body, breathing and stretching with each slow breath. Furs were also worn during colder nights, especially in winter. Soft pelts of sheep, reindeer, or even fox might be fashioned into wraps or capes, enveloping the sleeper in a tactile warmth. These furs were treasured, their dense hairs trapping heat and muffling sounds, creating a quiet cocoon. The choice of nightwear was guided by the seasons and weather. Lighter garments sufficed during the brief, cool summers, while thick wool and furs were reserved for the long, dark winters. This adaptability ensured comfort throughout the year. Footwear was generally removed before sleep, allowing feet to rest naturally. Thick woolen socks might be worn to bed when cold crept close, and blankets and furs were drawn tight around the lower legs. Imagine settling under your furs, the soft layers of nightwear keeping you warm and protected. The textures and scents of wool and linen mingle with the scent of the hearth and the earth, creating an enveloping atmosphere of calm. The care with which Vikings dressed for rest speaks to their deep respect for sleep as a vital, restorative part of life. The body was honored with soft fabrics and warm layers, each chosen for comfort and practicality. This thoughtful preparation, changing clothes, layering wool and linen, adding furs, was part of the nightly ritual, a slow, deliberate process that helped signal to the mind and body that rest was near. As you imagine yourself wrapped in these soft, natural fabrics, feel the gentle warmth spreading through you. Let the textures soothe your skin. Let the quiet sounds of the longhouse settle your mind. In these layers, both body and spirit find peace, allowing sleep to come gently, softly, deeply. In Viking society, sleep was not merely a private affair but an essential thread woven into the social fabric of the community. Rest was valued as a foundation for health, strength, and harmony, influencing relationships both within the family and beyond. Imagine a longhouse where multiple generations share the space, the elders, the adults, and the children each resting in their carefully prepared beds along the walls. Sleep here is communal, a shared experience binding individuals together. The Vikings understood that good rest was necessary not only for the individual but for the well-being of the entire household. A rested person was better able to perform daily tasks, participate in social gatherings, and maintain balance in their relationships. In this way, sleep was a social responsibility. Family members looked out for one another's rest, offering warmth, adjusting bedding, and maintaining the hearth's fire through the night. These acts of care created an atmosphere of trust and peace. The communal sleeping arrangements also fostered a sense of connection. The steady rhythms of breathing and soft movements blended together, forming a quiet chorus that comforted each sleeper. This closeness reinforced bonds and helped ease anxieties or loneliness. Beyond the household, rest was respected as essential for warriors, farmers, and artisans alike. A rested warrior was sharp and ready. A rested farmer was strong and steady. A rested artisan was patient and precise. The quality of sleep affected the vitality of the community. Festivals and gatherings often included times of rest. After communal feasts and celebrations, Quiet moments were taken to recover and reflect. These pauses honored the need to replenish both body and spirit. The Vikings also recognized the importance of balance between work, social life, and rest. They did not rush or push themselves to exhaustion, but sought harmony in their daily rhythms. Imagine yourself in this world, feeling the gentle care that surrounds rest. The knowledge that sleep is valued not just personally, but socially brings a deep sense of belonging and security. In this way, rest becomes a shared ritual, a gift given and received, a silent promise to nurture and protect one another. As you settle into sleep tonight, imagine the quiet presence of your community, family, friends, ancestors, holding you gently, supporting your rest. Let this sense of belonging and shared care lull you softly into peaceful sleep. While much of the Viking sleep story focuses on the long, restful nights spent in cozy longhouses, the practice of resting during the day was also an important part of their rhythm. Napping and quiet moments of rest offered gentle reprieves from labor and helped maintain balance in body and mind. Imagine a Viking village bathed in soft daylight. The sun hangs low in the sky during autumn and winter, or lingers in long twilight during summer. In these hours, the pace of life often slowed, creating natural opportunities for pause. The Vikings understood the value of listening to their bodies. When weariness touched the limbs and mind, a brief rest was welcomed, not as laziness, but as wisdom. A nap, even short, restored energy, calmed nerves, and prepared the body to face the remaining day. During the cold months, when daylight was scarce, a nap could provide vital warmth and comfort. A child might curl up near the hearth, the gentle flicker of flames lulling them into a brief, peaceful sleep. Adults might recline on benches or cushioned platforms, closing their eyes to recharge before returning to work or social time. These daytime rests were often communal and informal. No separate bedrooms existed, so people rested wherever they could on furs, benches, or soft patches of moss. The soundscape was quiet, conversations hushed, movement slowed to honor the stillness. Imagine yourself taking a moment to pause during the day. The air is cool and still, sunlight filtering softly through a small window. You settle gently on a soft bed of furs, the world around you slowing. Your breath deepens, and your body relaxes, sinking into the comforting embrace of rest. This practice of day rest complemented nighttime sleep, creating a fuller, more flexible sleep pattern. It allowed the Vikings to align their energy with natural cycles, rising, working, resting, and sleeping in harmony with the Earth's rhythms. In warmer months, rest during the day might be shorter or less frequent, as the long daylight hours called for more activity. Yet even then, moments of quiet reflection or brief repose were treasured. The Viking approach to rest, both night and day, reflects a deep respect for the body's needs and a gentle resistance to the rush and pressure of constant labor. As you imagine these quiet daytime moments, allow yourself to be carried by the slow flow of time. Let your body soften and your mind ease. Know that rest, in all its forms, is a gift, a necessary part of life's gentle balance. And with this understanding, settle softly into the deep, peaceful sleep that awaits you. As we draw near to the end of our journey through the gentle world of Viking sleep, it is fitting to pause and reflect on the quiet lessons their rest can offer us today. The Vikings, living close to nature and steeped in tradition, understood sleep as a vital, sacred part of life, a rhythm to honor and protect. Imagine the longhouse once more, its walls alive with the soft glow of firelight, the air filled with the warmth of furs, and the murmur of shared stories. Sleep here is not hurried or forced. It is invited with care, patience, and respect. Their approach teaches us the power of slowing down, of listening to our bodies and the natural world. It reminds us that sleep is not just a necessity, but a gift, one to be cherished, nurtured, and protected. The Vikings embraced rhythms that aligned with the Earth's cycles, waking with the light, resting through the dark, honoring the pause between. They welcomed the gentle sounds of night, the comfort of shared space, and the healing presence of fire and warmth. Their simple, natural bedding and clothing invited rest. Their meals supported calm. Their social bonds wrapped sleep in care and meaning. These are not just stories of a distant past, but living wisdom for our modern lives. Imagine now your own space, quiet and calm, prepared with gentle light and soft textures. Let the rhythms of the natural world, the rising and setting sun, the whispering wind, the steady heartbeat of night, guide you to rest. As you settle into your own sleep tonight, carry with you the quiet strength of Viking rest, the patience, the care, the gentle invitation to peace. Let go of haste, distraction, and worry. Let the night enfold you softly, as it did those who came before. In this shared human experience of sleep, find connection across time, across cultures, across the silent, restful hours. May your sleep be deep, steady, and renewing. May your dreams be gentle and kind. And may you wake refreshed, ready to greet the new day with calm and grace. Good night.